Okay, thank you. So, thank you all for joining us today. It's a third session on the topic, and today's expert is Miss Justina Rachel Scorin. So, it's my honor and introduce to our mentor of this session. Uh, she is the PhD research scholar at Prasanna School of Public Health, specialized in data science in biomedicine, and she has been engaged in various research roles since 2017 and has extensive expertise in health policy, qualitative research, and data science in public health. Uh, Her research focus on applying data science methodology to the biomedicine and health policy research. So we are excited to have Ms. Gurin and with us today, and we look forward to gaining insight into crafting compiling introduction of biometric manuscripts. So without further ado, I hand over this session to Miss Justina Richards, ma'am. Over to you. Ma'am, we have give you the co-host right, so I think you are able to share your screen.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much, sir.
please,
Thank you so much. Thank you to Dr. Ravika also, and thank you, Rajiv sir. As sir introduced, I am Justina. I am pursuing my PhD at Manipal Academy of Higher Education in Manipal. I have a background in public health, and since 2015, I've been involved in various forms of research. Since 2017, I've been focusing on bibliometric methods and technometric methods. When I got an opportunity to share the methodology with more people, I was really happy, and I'm really grateful to Professor Dr. Sonu Goel also for reaching out to me. I hope that today's session will be a fun and easy session for you. It'll be a light session. Most of you have already gone through the first two sessions where you looked at bibliometrics as a field of research. You got introduced to the different methodologies perhaps and the history of bibliometrics. You also might have learned a little bit about what do you say, how bibliometrics is different from for example, systematic reviews or even primary data research like cross-sectional studies, etc. Am I right? You can just respond by thumbs up or something if you can hear me and everything. If the pace is okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. So in the chat, I have shared two bibliometric papers as examples. Please download them, and we will be looking at those papers as we go through the session. Is that okay? Another thumbs up if possible.
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Great. Okay, I'll just share my screen now with the presentation. Is it visible? Everything okay? Yeah?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great. All right. So
just make it full screen, ma'am.
Is it not? So on my
It's
end,
not
it's
full screen.
Okay, let me see why it's not full screen.
In the meantime, we request everyone, please mute yourself during this session. After the presentation, we will ask you to have your share your questions and all.
Is it still not full screen? On my end, it's showing full screen. Do you think you could share from your end, please, Dr. Ravita? I can stop sharing if you'd like to do that.
You just have to click on the
I did.
mirror button in downstairs. It will be a full screen.
Mirror. Okay, let me try that.
PowerPoint presentation, there will be a full screen mode.
Somehow, maybe I don't have an updated Zoom. I don't know. Maybe Ravita, Dr. Ravita could share it instead of me. Is that okay?
Slide sharing mode will be there.
Dr. Abhita, you are muted.
Can we start the slide from the first one? First slide.
Is it visible?
Yes, I can see full screen for me.
It's full screen for us, ma'am. You can go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, as I was saying, you have already looked at how the objectives for bibliometrics is different, how the data sources for bibliometrics is different, and how your research questions for bibliometrics is different. Today, we will be funneling down to actual manuscript writing. This is more of an application level, session, I would say, so that you can start working on the manuscript from where you've left off in the last weeks. I believe you have each of you, I hope that each of you have your list of research questions and your list of objectives. Am I right? Yes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. We can go to the next slide. Yeah. So today's session, we will look at what we need to have in place before we start writing a bibliometric introduction to your manuscript. We would be looking at the different components, structure, and style of writing a bibliometric introduction. We will also start crafting our introduction today. Before we do that, let me just give you a disclaimer. Writing the introduction, I know that it makes sense to write your manuscript top to bottom, but usually there's iterations. You go back and forth between different sections of your manuscript. So today will be day one of writing your introduction. You will keep writing your introduction. You'll keep editing your introduction as you continue throughout your manuscript writing process. We will also look at considerations when writing for some specific journals. And also, I can teach you a small trick that will keep our manuscript cohesive, consistent, and simple using the argument matrix, which is a tool we can use. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So let's say why the introduction matters. Obviously, because just imagine your audience. Imagine a person who's going to pick up their database and open your paper and see they have had a day, they have had a different context, and you have to give them context to why you are doing this research or why this paper is in front of them. So it starts with connecting the manuscript and its objectives with the broader field. For example, if you're going to write for a tobacco control in pregnant women, the topic is tobacco control in pregnant women. So you have introduction is what connects the specific objectives of your research to the field of tobacco control in the specific group of pregnant women. A good introduction should prepare the reader to access study insights. So in my opinion, for bibliometric studies especially, a large, lengthy introduction is not necessary. Very concise, very logical bibliometric introductions are best. What makes bibliometric introductions unique? We don't look at primary data. We don't look at how many women smoke cigarettes who are pregnant. We don't look at the outcome, how many pregnancies develop complications, etc. None of that is what we are looking at. We are looking at how much research is being conducted on this topic. We'll be looking at who's conducting, which institutions are conducting, are high impact journals publishing this type of research, which countries are having this as a research focus. That's the kind of information that we'll be sharing in our manuscript. So our introduction serves to give our research findings and our research focus in context. Was there a question? I think it was just okay. I'll just continue. So before you start writing your introduction, you will likely have your analysis conducted and your central ideas or logical thread. What are central ideas or logical thread? You have written down your research questions and objectives. That gives the main idea of your research. In the example that I cited to you now, tobacco control in pregnant women, the central idea is, in a bibliometric context, would be the trends and patterns in research on tobacco control in pregnant women, for example, or the collaborations within research on pregnant women with requiring tobacco control. That would be your central thread, which you will start from the beginning of your introduction and weave it through your methods, your results, etc. So today's session, we'll be focusing on how to weave that thread. I hope that's okay. Product of your analysis, I've mentioned here. Usually when you write a manuscript, you don't start at introduction of writing the manuscript. You do your research, you write your manuscript. So that's why I've given product of analysis here. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, I'm sure since many of you are professors or at least doing your PG, you are already familiar with the IMRAT structure, which is introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Just for starting this logically, I thought I'll just share this IMRAT structure with you. This is how standard publication of manuscript happens. This is how journals publish manuscripts, following this sequential order and structure. Yeah. So the introduction focuses on what the research is about, why it's important, and what gap it aims to fill. While the methods tell the story of how you filled those gaps or how you found that information, what were the tools and procedures that you used, and the results are your findings. What did you find? Only you cannot discuss it here. Only your findings in images, in descriptions, in interpretations. That's it. In your results, and then finally, in discussion, you are going to do the interpretation of your results, where you discuss it based on your findings on the context, on the research field, or on global health aspect, or in public health aspect, or as a policy aspect. In different aspects, you can discuss your results, or you can give your interpretation as the researcher of what your findings mean to the reader or to the audience that may include other researchers, students, policymakers, educators, etc. So the IMRAT structure is given to you to organize the research to be presented in a logical and sequential way. Shall we go to the next slide, please? You can go back one. Okay, next slide. Yeah. The next key components, right? When writing the introduction, so far you've realized if you have written a paper before in any type of paper, be it a systematic review, be it a cross-sectional study, be it an RCT, whatever you have written, the introduction does seem very similar. I haven't yet gotten to discussing how bibliometric introductions are different much, but let's keep the basic understanding of how an introduction should be before we further delve into how a bibliometric introduction is different. As you all may already know, the introduction has three main areas. One is it gives the context, where you start with, tobacco consumption among pregnant women is a global health risk, or in India, 75% of whatever. That's not real data. I'm just giving you an example. You set the context of your study, of why it's relevant, your field, what's the problem with the field, or what is the health relevance of that topic you've chosen. Then you funnel it down to we do not have adequate information on data in women in India, for example. Studies suggest that. And so we thought we'll conduct a bibliometric analysis to actually understand how much research has been done on the Indian population on tobacco use or tobacco control measures in pregnant women. So that would set the context. And that is the beginning of your thread. Remember, I mentioned a logical thread. The beginning of your thread is the context, the problem, and then research on the problem and what's missing. You introduce the gap and you say, our project aims or our study aims to find, and you define the scope of your study. We are looking at women from this age to this age. We're looking at women in this state, or we are looking at maybe not even studies on women in. Can we have the mute? Great. We're looking at studies on from India, or we are looking at studies from global perspective, whatever. You set the scope, you define the scope of your study. That is your second part of your introduction, which is the aim of your study. You are introducing the aim of your study in the introduction. And here you can clearly lead the audience to the research insights that you're going to present later on. Yes? Am I fast? Can I get some feedback here, please? Is this okay? Is the pace okay?
It's okay, ma'am. You can continue. You're going good.
Great. All right. Now on to almost the last paragraph. So usually an introduction has 4 to 5 paragraphs. That's enough. It's great if you can keep it to 4 paragraphs. So around the third and fourth paragraph, you will be introducing. We have chosen the bibliometric methodology of whatever, co-citation analysis, co-authorship analysis, network analysis, whatever it is that you are going to do. You can introduce that method, just stating the name of the method. You can state, we are using WAS Viewer, we are using SiteSpace, we are using RStudio to do the analysis. You are stating your name of the tools and you're going to cite it there. Then you will also conclude your introduction by saying these findings will enhance the knowledge of policymakers regarding future directions for research on tobacco control among pregnant women, etc. So, good. Do I need to discuss any of the things that I've talked about till now? It's clear, right? Anybody has a question here? You can ask me now. No questions?
No question, ma'am. Continue.
Can we go to the next slide, please? So in the chat, I had shared 2 manuscripts. Do you all have access to them? Do you think you can all download it and just go through them? Take 2 minutes, quickly go read through both of those manuscripts. Is that possible for all of you? If there is anybody who didn't get access to it, please let me know.
Can you send it again? It's not
Let me try.
there in the chat box.
Okay.
It is shared in Menti group also.
I'm sharing it again
And
just for easy access.
We got it in Menti group. Thank you.
Okay. Please read it and give me a thumbs up.
Hello.
Quick reading. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
So, thanks for this lecture. This is very important. According to me, I don't know what is they have to explore these things. But I have a question. You have to return the method. So why not you are written here methodology first thing? Or method and methodology, I think both are the different. In methodology, the data and method both are comes together, and in method only methods comes, not data, like source of the data. They have to not mention in that. According to me, I don't know. You can also comment on that.
Yes. I believe you're asking why I have mentioned method in introduction. You introduce the methods that you're going to use in introduction. You're not going to describe the methods. The methodology portion will describe the methodology in detail. You will give the theory behind why you have chosen certain methods, who has probably, which tools you're using, which softwares you're using in detail. For example, in one manuscript itself, you might use VosViewer and you might use RStudio. So in the methodology, not in introduction, in the methodology, you will describe how you extracted data from Web of Science or Scopus, and then you used RStudio to clean the data or organize the data, and then used VosViewer to uh, uh, create data visualizations. That steps will be described in the methodology, which is a separate thing. This is, you're giving an introduction to the methods you're going to use to solve the problem you mentioned in the first paragraph. In the context, you've given a problem and you've described a specific area of the problem in the context. Then you are giving what you as a researcher is planning to do with your manuscript, which is in your aims. And in the methods of the introduction, that is just a paragraph. You're not going to give it a title. I'm just giving you as a component. In the methods, you're just going to say to meet the aims given above, we are going to use citation analysis. We're going to use co-authorship analysis. We're going to use keyword co-occurrence analysis, etc. using VosViewer. So that is an introduction to the method. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you might have all read the manuscripts by now, the articles by now, example 1 and example 2. So in the introduction, you can see that both the manuscripts have been written kind of differently. Am I right? Have you all finished reading, or do you need more time? Shall we look at the first paper? Is it the digital health is a popular digital health paper? Can we look at that? Can we all have it open?
Yes, ma'am. Go with that paper first.
Okay. So in the introduction, can you, each of you as you read, are you able to identify based on the key components that I gave you, the context, aim, and method? Can you see the context that they're setting up about how digital health is, such a field? They're giving a little bit input through what WHO thinks about digital health, etc. They're defining it. They're setting. They're telling the story of digital health here, which is a very, very long paragraph. To me, that's a lot of context. And you can see as they go down further, they're narrowing it down to, in this context, digital health technologies have also shown promise in addressing challenges related to rare conditions, etc. They're giving so much information to the audience on how digital health technologies is impacting specific populations, specific areas of medicine, such as life expectancy, aging population, rare disease, etc. And they are also talking about the tools that they use, etc. Can you see that? That all of that goes as context. Can somebody find where the aim is given in this paragraph in the digital health introduction? Can somebody read out the aim? Has anyone found it? Anybody ready? It's okay, we can be wrong. I'm going to wait for one of you to try to find where the aim is given.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please tell me.
So, in the last para,
Yes.
hence this work aimed to reveal the top 100 most cited digital health papers and the most productive authors or contributing to them. The conducted analysis can be regarded as the compilation highlighting the most impactful work in this field that can be a reference for those who wish to understand the types of
Exactly.
studies that are conducted and have been highly referenced by the scientific community.
And they
Moreover,
continue. Yes.
yeah.
Keep reading.
Moreover, bibliometric analysis of highly cited articles in the scope of digital health could facilitate researchers to identify promising new research avenues and establish international scientific collaborations between interdisciplinary research groups with demonstrated achievements in the area of interest, thus providing additional opportunities for the development of new research studies in the field of digital healthcare.
So here they have gone from aim to implication. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the aim is that they're trying to understand the top, they're analyzing the top 100 cited digital papers. So top 100 most cited digital papers means the most impactful in terms of citations. Whichever papers on digital health that has been published based on their search strategy, they have found out these have received maybe thousands of citations. So they found those papers, they analyzed who their authors are, who they've worked with, which institutions they are part of, and the types of studies that they did. See, okay, the aim they have given here, you're able to identify the aim, but the paper has failed to properly say this is a bibliometric analysis. Do you feel that? Do you feel like it's clear to you? Is it clear? What their aim is, as when you read so much in the beginning about the context, the aim kind of gets shadowed, doesn't it? What do you think? Anyone can reply. I told you this is a application kind of session. It's not a theoretical session at all. Anybody? So their context portion was very large. Their aim and implication or methods, they've made it very small. The methods that they are mentioning is citation analysis. They have mentioned collaborative networks. They've already talked about production. The number of 100 papers that have received the most impactful, most citations. So they've just put points of what they have done in the research. Yeah, let's go to the next paper and see the difference. I'm not saying the next paper or this paper is not a good bibliometric paper. They're both dealing with it in different ways. We can do a middle ground approach. Yeah, let's go to the next paper. I hope you all have the next paper also open. Tuberculosis. Can I have a yes if you all have it? Is there anyone who doesn't have it? Am I audible, please?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. So if you all have the paper open, let's look at the context of the study. They're talking about TB, which is fine. They're going from a wide perspective of TB, what TB is and all that, and what are the methods that global health systems have tried to combat TB, etc. And then they're going to the main topic towards the end of first paragraph, where they're talking about drug-resistant TB, which is the actual topic. So if I am writing a manuscript in bibliometrics, I wouldn't go into so much detail about TB and all that. I would just start with the field of multi-resistant TB. MDR TB is very significant. Let's look at the research. And then go into explaining the relevance of the topic and relevance of doing a bibliometric analysis. Here they're giving very important data on why this topic is so relevant, why research on this topic is so relevant. See, that's a nice logical thread. Can you feel? I hope you can understand what I mean by logical thread. By the third paragraph, they're saying research on drug-resistant TB, drug resistance is a key element for future planning to eliminate TB, since the progress made on halting TB in the past 2 decades could be undermined by development of drug-resistant mycobacterium. This clearly makes the field of research the center of this manuscript, rather than tuberculosis. Publications on TB. See, can you see how this is a little different from the previous paper? Can I hear back from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, please tell me what you understood. Just in your few words, what did you see the difference as?
Here in the last para, they have mentioned the objective and what they have carried out in the study clearly, what they want to be seeing in the study clearly than
Yes.
the other previous study. Whereas in the previous study, it was not so very clear, the
Yes.
objective and aim of the study.
So in this paper, they have given you the context. They have given you research field as the center of your context. They've centered that. Then they have gone on to why you've chosen bibliometric as a methodology of uh, research on the topic. And they are also, I believe, let's see, they are the last paragraph. Can somebody read the last paragraph, second line, second sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The study was carried out as an effort to shed light on a challenging worldwide problem facing the future target to end TB. The objective of the study was to retrieve and analyze worldwide publications on multi-drug resistant and the
Total drug
XDR
resistance.
and TDR TB for the past decade, 2006 to 2015.
See, they
In
have
this
given the
study,
scope. The
yeah,
2006 to 2015 is where they have defined the scope. If you go
correct.
back, if you go back to my slide, can we have my slide now? The key component slide, please. Yeah. So, will you be able to pick out if you see any bibliometric manuscript now? 3 points from bibliometric manuscript?
Mm,
Yes? That was the
yes.
objective of this whole exercise. I just wanted to familiarize you with two different methods of writing bibliometric. You can write like the first authors who are very healthcare focused or health research focused. Bibliometric does not have a health focus. It's not a person focus. It's a research field focus. That is the difference. And it's also about a lot of bibliometric research is also about how to introduce new methodologies to describe the field of research. Yes, the 2006 to 2015 was mentioned. So that is your defined scope, one example of a defined scope. In one of the papers, they talked about how it's important to understand where research is currently so that the danger of future uh, uh, danger of MDR, XDR, TDR, TB for future control measures of TB. Those are all clearly given as implications. Now, why don't you all take a few minutes to think about your own topics that you have given your research questions and objective to, and give me one sentence for each of these three components. Can I have 4 people say that? Can I have 4 people volunteering to do the context, aim, and method of their? I know the method will be challenging. I'll help you with the method part, but try. Any 4 people. Should I call out people?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Myself, Dr. Rajlakshmi.
Thank you.
So I choose a topic of tobacco consumption in association with metabolic syndrome,
Yes.
metabolic diseases. In this first context, I'll give how the metabolic syndrome is associated with the tobacco and what is the burden of the tobacco and metabolic diseases.
Perfect.
And there is a gaps and rationale for because much of the diseases, CVS or diabetes, most of the diseases, they have less on obesity like that. So can I use that as a gap or rationale, ma'am?
So you can say, for example, this is just an example. You will have to do it in your own way, but an example regarding metabolic implications of what was the topic? Tobacco consumption, right?
Tobacco, yes, and
Yeah.
metabolics with metabolics.
Yeah. So we did a systematic review suggests that certain focus has been missing in how metabolic syndromes and tobacco consumptions together affect the Indian population, for example. So we conducted a bibliometric analysis of research on this topic.
Okay.
That, and then you can go to your aim. Can you please share your aim if you don't mind? Yes, please go ahead.
I cannot, I am unable to share, ma'am, because one.
No, you can just say,
Okay.
yeah. We explore research on metabolic
What are the
impact of,
predominant themes on tobacco consumption associated with metabolic syndrome?
great.
Which cluster of metabolic diseases such as type 2 obesity, type 2 diabetes, and serious emerge within the research of tobacco consumption?
Yes.
What are the trends, impact, and knowledge gaps in research on tobacco consumption and its association with metabolic diseases?
Now I will tell you how to do the methods part. The last part of your introduction is, in order to obtain these aims and objectives, we used data extracted from whichever database you use. You might use PubMed, you might use Web of Science, you might use Scopus. So we use data from Web of Science, for example. We extracted data from Web of Science using search strategy, tobacco control, metabolic diseases, childhood obesity, type 2 DM, etc. These are the keywords that we used. And we got 4,500 papers that describe metabolic disorders and tobacco consumption. We extracted the data and we clean the data using RStudio. We clean the data using BiblioShiny, whichever tool you use.
Okay.
And we have then used WAS Viewer to develop data visualizations, and we summarize the findings in terms of co-citation analysis, citational analysis, co-occurrence analysis. Because you're talking about teams, you'll be using co-occurrence analysis.
Okay.
And we believe that these findings are important to direct future research on tobacco consumption and metabolic disorders in the population under study, etc.
Okay.
So see, we already did the introduction. Congratulations, you've done. So let's go to the next slides. Next 2 slides, I guess. Yeah, next slide. Yes. So we're done with the introduction. Now you can all do what we just did with ma'am right now. In each of your topics, how to write your introduction, establish the research context. I would say maximum 5 sentences. If you can bring it to 5 sentences on research context, it can be okay. Let's say stroke. Stroke is the topic. Stroke is a WHO priority problem, global health problem. It affects 90% of older adults, 25% of young adults, and it's shown linked to tobacco consumption, etc. Then you've already established the context of what topic you're doing, stroke. Okay, then you're going research on stroke in a particular population, stroke in pregnant women who consume tobacco, for example. is identified as a research gap by other studies. So here you can cite other systematic research on the topic, or if there is anything that has any papers that have either Indian or global context, you can cite those as the evidence for research gap at this the last paragraph of the first paragraph, last sentence of the first paragraph of your introduction. So you're going to the research gap. It is now you're going to say why this research gap is so important. It is so important to identify how much research and in which population the research has been done, by who the research has been done, the impact of this research on healthcare provided to young women who are at risk of developing complications in pregnancy due to tobacco consumption. You then, in order to find the to explore the research available for this population, we conducted a bibliometric analysis and our findings. Then you are going to we conducted a bibliometric analysis to identify what are the things that we said before. We talked about collaboration, we talked about themes, we talked about contribution of institutions, we talked about countries, which countries are performing more research on the topic. So based on that, whatever questions you are having, your research questions are very relevant at the fourth point, describe the methodological and theoretical foundations. At this point, you will be saying which method you're using to answer your research questions. Does that help you? I hope it does. And then this bibliometric analysis is very relevant to policymakers, to healthcare providers, to pregnant women, for example, because it shows the gap in research and risk faced by this population, research on risk faced by this population. Yeah. At this point, I'd just like to give a few language tips. When you read the first manuscript, it was, as an audience, were you able to read the whole thing and absorb the whole thing? Yes or no? Can I have a few thumbs up, thumbs down? Were you able to absorb exactly what they were trying to say just from the introduction? If you say, yes, I understood what they are trying to say when I read the introduction, you can put a thumbs up. Or if you feel like I'm confused, it was overwhelming, it was a lot of information, you can put a thumbs down. Can we see at least 4 or 5 people responding on the chat? Yes. Okay. All right. So thank you, Dr. Abhishek and Dr. Praveen. In the second manuscript that we looked at, and in our own manuscripts, it's very important to use simple, specific words, avoiding all kinds of jargon. When XDR, TDR, it was good that they gave the full definition in the title itself. They clued us into XDR, TDR in the title itself. So that helped us. But if it's a lot of jargon, a reader would get distracted or disconnected from your findings. Second is, please, this is something that I've struggled with personally, to use short sentences because I think in long sentences, and we tend to write it in long sentences to fully describe what we're trying to say in one sentence. Better to break down a sentence. Even if you write a long sentence, revisit it, break it down again to short sentences. If it's more than 10 words, it's heavy, already very heavy sentence. Then another important thing is in your introduction, it's a lot of essay writing, right? So a lot of it is not as objective as your findings or your discussion might be. So be very careful to use appropriate words to describe people. For example, people with Chinese origin is better than Chinese people. Or gender identity. Be careful of using whatever is appropriate, especially according to the journal. If the journal has some policies, be mindful to use those terms that the journal is asking you to use. Then avoid passive voice. These are normal tips for writing an introduction for any manuscript, not just bibliometric. And avoid redundancy. This is why I say your manuscript introduction should be short, maximum 5 paragraphs. It doesn't need to be 4 is good enough. And in the beginning, if you use WHO, World Health Organization, keep using and you give it in the bracket as WHO, keep using WHO itself. Don't go into maybe another, don't, how do I say, don't change the department or don't name a project from the WHO. If you're going to talk about the project from WHO, speak about it in the beginning itself. Stay in consistency throughout so that people don't misunderstand what you're trying to say. What other example can I give for consistency? I'm not able to recollect anything right now. Yeah, if you're going to say cancer, use cancer throughout the manuscript. Or if you're going to say oncology, use oncology throughout the manuscript. I hope that's clear. Staying consistent with words. Yeah, so that in case your audience is not able to understand different words, because your audience is not, especially as a bibliometrician, your audience is not always going to be medical professionals. Your audience is going to be mainly policymakers who may not have a medical background. So this is very important for bibliometric manuscripts. Are we clear till now? Any questions? I can take some questions now if any of you have any. Anybody? You can ask me questions regarding your manuscript that you're preparing. Any questions, any kind of questions that's coming to mind? Does anybody have any questions regarding the implications of their study? No? Okay, let's move to the next slide. Considerations for publication. So this is the final part of your introduction, writing, actually manuscript. This is at the end of writing your manuscript, where you have to check what you have written meets these criteria that I've given you here. So that you are having maximum chance of getting a manuscript published, so that they don't send it back for small mistakes you can avoid as author. Standard mistakes, that editors keep having to send it back to multiple authors because they missed a certain point in the authorship guidelines given to the journal, etc. So let's look at this so that we have our ducks in a row. First of all, like I said, there should be a logical thread you start with the context. You say the context is this is the problem. This much research has been done, but we want to find out more about how much research needs to be done or who is doing it. What's the most important research that has been done? That is your aim. Then you're talking about your methods. To find these things, we use this method using these tools. Then this will help us to clarify lacking information or add to the knowledge base. Then you write. This next session on methodology will describe the methods introduced here in deeper way. So you can see the thread is going from context, aim, methods to methodology. So you're gone from introduction to the methodology part. Here we can say, so the introduction helps you to emphasize the relevance and scope and introduce the methods that you're using and what the research means. At this point also, you also need to make sure that whichever journal you're writing to, you've written your introduction according to the journal's criteria. Some journals want you to write the introduction as a background. Some journals will like to have introduction as such. There are very technical journals that might ask you to give subheadings, very rarely. But there are also journals that tell you, I need a research panel. For example, if you're writing to Lancet, they'll ask a research panel that talks about what is the implication, what research in context, things like that. So go through the authorship guidelines of whichever journal you're sending to and write your introduction according to the exact guidelines they have given. Also, when you use data for your introduction, make sure that you put in the effort to find the latest, not 2017, find 2022 if it's available. I know if 2024 is available, add it. As recent as possible, get the data as your hard data in the first paragraph. And make sure that it is from a verified source, not from newspaper, not from, it can be, your newspaper is okay, but it would be better if it's from, maybe WHO, for example, or World Bank, for example, or even burden of disease, global burden of disease, IHME website. Those are areas where you'll get your burden hard data from. Then finally, the clear connection to subsequent sections, which I will show you how to do using an argument matrix. The argument matrix is simply a table with columns you can fill in with a few words to kind of keep your manuscript flowing, improve the flow of your manuscript. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So central idea 1, 2, 3. In case of tobacco use among pregnant women, how much research is done since 2001 to 2020-24? In the last 24 years, how much research has been done? That could be trends, patterns of research in the last 24 years or 25 years, can be the first central idea. Second idea that you are looking at can be what are the main themes that emerge from the research. Is it risk to the mother? Is it risk to the child? Is it sociological aspects of tobacco consumption in pregnant women? Which age group? What are the themes? That could be a second idea. And the third idea could be the final objective could be which countries or which journals are publishing more such research. That is what you will be describing in your introduction, and you will end the introduction with your method and implication. So from there, you're logically connecting to methods. method section. Okay, this is the methodology section that Mr. Vijay had mentioned before. Here you're going in detail. You gave the 3 concepts, the 3 threads. You're taking the threads to the method section. You're describing all the steps, step by step, from topic selection to keyword selection to data extraction and data cleaning and data visualization. All of those steps you're going to explain in the methods. Then you're going to end. We obtained images, we obtained tables which are described in the results. And here you present, okay, the first question was what are the trends? So here you're going to, in the results section, you're going to say since 2020, since 2001, so many articles have been published. Since between 2010 to 2015, there was a spike in publication, particularly from maybe Johns Hopkins. You can describe those results there, however you find the results. The second point was themes. The main theme is high risk to fetus, development of neurological disorders in fetus. This has been a recurring theme in many studies. 75% of the studies described this complication, etc. That can also be in your results. And the final point, so these are all being described through images that you have generated, images, graphs, network diagrams that you have generated, which you will learn to generate and interpret in the coming sessions. Finally, you will be discussing here again. You're looping very clearly back to idea 1, idea 2, idea 3 in the discussion. Make sure that the thread is, both ends of the thread are tied from introduction to discussion. In the discussion, clearly discuss the 3 main or 4 main ideas that you have introduced in your introduction. Finally, your recommendations and conclusions on how you hope the research will impact or how policies can be made to better allocate resources for more research, etc. That will be your conclusion. So this argument matrix, I'm giving you the idea of the argument matrix now itself in the introduction, because the thread starts in the introduction. Keep this in mind as you write your whole manuscript. I hope this tool is helpful